We were eating dinner, and I swear, the air felt thick before she even opened her mouth. There wasn't a storm outside. No argument earlier. Nothing obvious to trigger what happened, just roasted salmon, some overpriced wine she picked up on the way home, and silence thick enough to chew. She was chewing slowly like she wanted to stretch time, and I was scrolling on my phone, pretending I didn't feel that weird current across the table. I noticed her eyes were darting between me and the clock on the microwave like she had somewhere to be or wanted this moment over with. Then she set her fork down. Not slammed, not clattered, just placed it down like a chess move. She wiped her mouth, dabbed the corners too perfectly. I looked up and caught her eyes. She smiled. But it wasn't a smile for me. It wasn't even real. It was like a smirk borrowed from a stranger. And then she said it. "This Friday, I'm going to New York with the girls. Just for the weekend. Spa stuff." "No, what do you think?" "No, I was planning to, no invitation to discuss. Just an announcement." I didn't say anything right away. I wanted to see what she'd do with the silence. She held my stare too long, like she was daring me to question it. That was the first moment I knew. Not suspected, knew. Something was wrong. Not maybe. Not possibly. Definitely. So I asked the most harmless question I could. "Which girls?" She blinked, just a fraction too slow. "Maya and Tiff." That was a lie. I knew it immediately. Tiff had just posted on her story that she and her boyfriend were flying to Arizona this weekend. She'd posted a photo of matching hiking boots 2 hours ago. I saw it on my phone while the salmon was still in the oven. I didn't call her out. Not yet. Instead, I nodded, smiled, told her to enjoy herself. And I watched her face. Her relief came too quickly. She thought I'd bought it. That was my second confirmation. She wasn't just lying. She wanted me to believe the lie and move on. That was the worst part, not the deceit itself, but how easy it was for her to try and deceive me. After dinner, she cleared the plates with extra energy like she was winning. I helped dry them, watching her, really watching. I noticed she didn't hum like she usually did. No small talk. No casual touches. Her eyes kept checking her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Later that night, when she was taking a long shower, I went to her phone. She never changed her passcode. I don't know if it was arrogance or carelessness, but I didn't hesitate. What I found wasn't just evidence. It was a sledgehammer to the chest. A new contact. Just initials. RT. I opened the thread. "Friday, can't wait to finally have you to myself. Sunday, still thinking about your mouth on my." I stopped reading. There were more. Photos. Selfies in her car. One in a hotel mirror. None were graphic, but they didn't need to be. Her expression in them said everything. That same smirk she gave me across the dinner table. Except this time it was real. For him. I sat there in the dark of our bedroom, her phone still glowing in my hand, listening to the water running in the bathroom. I felt like I was watching my life from outside of it. The house, our furniture, the framed photos, all of it suddenly looked fake. Like a stage set. Like I was some idiot actor in a play where everyone but me knew the ending. She came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, hair wet, face clean of makeup. She looked so normal. So casual. She didn't even notice the phone in my hand until she got to the dresser. Then she froze. "You went through my phone?" she asked. Her tone wasn't shocked. Not angry. Just irritated. Like I'd taken her parking spot or forgotten to replace the toilet paper roll. I didn't answer her. Not yet. I just looked at her. I waited. And then, like she had a switch in her brain labeled defense mode, she started talking fast. "It's not what you think. RT is just a friend, and those messages are stupid jokes. Inside stuff. You wouldn't understand." That was her opening move. Denial with a layer of condescension. She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. For a moment, I saw something flash in her eyes, panic maybe, but it vanished so quickly I almost thought I imagined it. "You lied to my face," I said. Quiet. Cold. "Spa weekend with Maya and Tiff?" She didn't even flinch. "People change plans." "No. You had your plan all along. And I'm just the idiot funding your play." Her towel slipped a little and she grabbed at it like modesty still mattered. She narrowed her eyes, and that's when I saw it. Not guilt. Not shame. Contempt. "You always do this," she snapped. "Make drama out of nothing. You're so paranoid." I laughed. Couldn't help it. It just came out. Loud and bitter. "Paranoid?" I said. "You think it's paranoia when I'm staring at messages where you're planning to disappear with a man who isn't me?" She said nothing. Just crossed her arms and stared at me like I was the problem. And somehow in her twisted mind, maybe I was. But I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. This wasn't going to end in silence. She walked past me like I wasn't even there, headed straight for her dresser, yanked open the top drawer, and started rummaging around for lotion like we'd just had a debate over dinner plans. My heart was still pounding from what I just read. Her phone was still in my hand. But she had already moved on to moisturizing. You really think yelling is going to fix this? She tossed over her shoulder, not even bothering to look at me. I'm not yelling, I said, though my voice cracked around the edges. I'm asking you to tell me the truth. I told you, she snapped, twisting the cap off the lotion. It's not what you think. That line, that lazy, gaslighting, overused line. I stepped forward, placed her phone down on the edge of the dresser, calmly, deliberately. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to play by the script she had prepared. She wasn't in control anymore. Then tell me what it is, I said, standing so close she could see the weight in my eyes. Explain those messages. Explain the hotel selfie. Explain why you lied to my face about where you were going this weekend. She turned then, finally. And in that moment, her expression changed. Not to remorse. Not to fear. But to something far more calculated. Cold. She uncrossed her arms, dropped the lotion on the dresser, and gave me a look like I was the one who had cheated. You want the truth, she said. Fine. I didn't go to Vermont last month either. That weekend I said I was with my mom? I wasn't. I was with him. And it was incredible. I blinked. My body felt frozen, like my blood had paused in my veins. She wasn't confessing. She was taunting. I asked very quietly why. She shrugged. Because I wanted to. Because he doesn't bore me. Because I don't have to explain every word I say to him. He actually listens instead of staring at his phone all night. He doesn't sulk. He doesn't need a schedule to feel alive. It was like every word was designed to cut. And it did. But worse than the pain was how easily it rolled off her tongue. Like she had been rehearsing it. Waiting for the day she'd get to throw it all in my face. You're blaming me? I asked. For your cheating? She gave this short, dry laugh. Of course you'd call it that. You see everything in black and white. Maybe if you looked in a mirror once in a while instead of acting like some perfect husband, you'd understand why this happened. That's when something inside me snapped, not in a rage, not in some dramatic outburst, but in clarity. I saw her clearly for the first time in months. Maybe years. The woman I married was gone. Replaced by this bitter, smug stranger who saw my pain as ammunition. I walked over to the bed and sat down, my mind spinning. How long? I asked. She didn't answer. How long? I repeated. She sighed. Almost a year. Since the fall. The weight of that hit me hard. I thought about all the times she'd kissed me goodbye before work. All the casual nights on the couch. The holidays. Birthdays. My dad's funeral. She had stood next to me during that, held my hand. And all the while, she was with someone else. I stared at the floor. My whole body felt hollow. Not numb, worse. Like I was filling up with something toxic and slow. She stood there watching me, and when she finally spoke again, it was with a tone so indifferent, so dismissive, it chilled me. If this is such a big deal for you, she said, maybe we should take some space. I'll go to a hotel tonight. She wasn't leaving out of shame. She was giving herself more time with him. This was a reroute, not a retreat. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just nodded. She packed a small bag in silence. No tension. No emotion. Just routine, like she was preparing for a business trip. She didn't ask if I wanted her to stay. Didn't offer an apology. Not even a goodbye. The door shut behind her. And the silence that followed wasn't peace. It was the beginning of something else. I wasn't going to be the victim in her story. Not anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I tried. I laid down on the side of the bed she hadn't touched, stared at the ceiling like answers would be carved into it. But the silence kept folding in on itself, over and over, pressing on my chest like weight I couldn't push off. My phone stayed on the nightstand. Her charger was still plugged in beside it, still warm. That little detail made me sick. I kept thinking back to what she said. Almost a year. That would have made it October. I was hospitalized in October. 2 nights for chest pains that turned out to be nothing, just stress. I remember how she brought me soup and sat at the foot of my bed scrolling through her phone while I tried to sleep. I thought she was just tired. But now I know what it really was. She was texting him while I was hooked up to machines. By 4 a.m. I was still wide awake, so I got out of bed and went downstairs. I made coffee I didn't drink, stared out the window at the empty street, and realized how alien my own house felt now. The walls were the same. The pictures were still up. Her stupid throw pillows still sat perfectly lined on the couch. But the soul of it had bled out. The home I thought I'd built was just a stage set. Fake brick. Prop furniture. At 5:12, my phone buzzed. It was a text from her. I need to come back later today to grab a few more things. Can you not be there? No apology. No questions about how I was doing. Just a request to not be present while she picked through the wreckage. I didn't reply. Instead, I pulled up my laptop. I wasn't going to wait around to be crushed again. I started digging. I knew enough from the texts to suspect that RT wasn't just some shadow from her phone. He was real and sloppy. I checked her email first, and that's where I hit gold. She had a confirmation email from a boutique hotel downtown. The reservation was for last month, check-in for 2 under his name, Ryan Talbot. I looked him up. CEO of a mid-sized marketing firm downtown. Divorced. Mid-30s. Sleazy Instagram full of gym selfies, wine tastings, motivational quotes. A guy who wanted to be seen. The kind of man who would text a married woman still thinking about your mouth and think it was poetry. But here's the twist I didn't see coming: he wasn't divorced. Not anymore. I found photos of him with a woman on his feed. New photos. Happy couple stuff. Captions with hearts. One was dated 3 weeks ago. So either he moved on fast or... I did a reverse image search on the woman. Her name came up quickly: Danielle Talbot. Real estate agent. I found her business number, then her personal one, posted on a local community board. I stared at it for a while, heart pounding. I didn't want revenge. That wasn't what this was about. I wanted clarity. I wanted to know if she knew about me. About us. Or if she too was being served the same brand of sugar-coated betrayal. So I called. She answered on the second ring, voice groggy. Hello? Hi. Sorry for calling so early. My name's Nathan. I think your husband's been seeing my wife. Silence. Then a very soft, very broken, what did you say? I told her. Not everything. Just enough. Names. Dates. Hotel. The messages. I expected anger. Or sobbing. Maybe yelling. But what came next wasn't any of that. It was laughter. Not amused laughter. Not the kind you share with friends. This was sharp. Tired. Wounded. You're the third husband to call me this year, she said. I guess I should start keeping a list. I froze. Wait, what? He does this. With married women. He likes the challenge. The secrecy. Says it keeps things exciting. He gets bored fast, so he picks women with something to lose. I sat down completely stunned. He's not capable of love, she continued. He collects stories. That's all you and I are. Chapters in his ego trip. I felt sick. For her. For myself. For all the people like us who thought they were living one kind of story and found out they were props in someone else's script. When I hung up, I didn't feel better. But I did feel awake. There was no future with my wife anymore. Whatever we'd been, whatever we might have been, had already died. She didn't just cheat, she collaborated in our destruction. She picked him. Repeatedly. Willingly. Even after knowing what he was. That was when I made the decision. I wasn't going to wait for her to come and gather more lies in a suitcase. I was going to end this properly. My way. I didn't text her back. I didn't confirm or deny whether I'd be home when she came. Let her guess. Let her sweat if she still had it in her to feel anything close to discomfort. I spent the morning not in pain, not in grief, but in execution mode. My emotions hadn't disappeared. They were still there, hot and sharp like a live wire under my skin. But they were focused now. By noon I had already called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, Jonathan King. The same guy who helped my business partner navigate his divorce last year when his wife drained their joint savings and tried to flip the narrative. The man didn't miss a beat. He answered the phone like he was expecting me. I laid it all out. The affair. The lies. The text messages. The hotel reservations. The digital trail. He told me exactly what to gather. I had screenshots, emails, timestamps. I had her itinerary, her messages, everything short of a confession video. King said it plainly, we'll file first. Let's put her on the defensive. It was the first moment I felt something close to power. I wasn't going to be the weeping husband begging her to stay or trying to salvage the ruins of something she'd already sold off piece by piece. She wasn't confused. She wasn't lost. She made choices. Strategic ones. She took her time destroying us. Let her taste consequences now. Around 2:30, I heard her car pull into the driveway. I didn't move. I just sat in the kitchen with a glass of water, calm as a sniper. The front door opened like she lived here. Like nothing had happened. I didn't even look at her as she walked in. She saw me and paused by the stairs. Thought you'd be out. I'm not, I said. She stood there holding her keys, clearly uncomfortable but masking it with that bored expression she'd perfected. I just need to grab some more things. Go ahead, I said. Take what you want. Just know this isn't your home anymore. That got her attention. She turned slowly. Excuse me. I filed for divorce this morning. You'll be served in the next few days. She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Then, after a beat, she laughed. A single, flat note of disbelief. You're being dramatic. No. I'm being surgical. She walked into the kitchen now, closer, trying to reassert control. Nathan, listen, I get that you're hurt. I do. But we can talk this through. This doesn't have to get messy. I met her gaze with dead calm. You already made it messy. You lied, cheated, and humiliated me for nearly a year. There's no more talking. You can grab your things. That's it. Her face twisted just for a moment. Like she couldn't believe I had the nerve to flip the script. She was used to being the one who dictated the pace, who decided when the game changed. But I was no longer on her board. "You think you're punishing me?" she said, stepping closer, voice low. "You think this makes you look strong?" "No," I replied. "I think it makes me free." She scoffed, turned on her heel, marched up the stairs, slamming doors and yanking drawers like it could still rattle me. Like I'd chase after her, ask for explanations, try to make sense of her betrayal. But I didn't move. I just sat there and waited. When she came back down, she had 2 bags and an expression that was trying hard not to tremble. At the door, she paused. "You're throwing away 6 years over a mistake." I looked at her for a long moment. "No. You threw it away. I'm just taking out the trash." And then she left. No goodbye. No apology. Just silence and a gust of wind that followed her out the door. I sat there after she was gone, my hands steady, my breath slow. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't drowning. I was surfacing. The next 3 days passed like something out of a movie montage, except there was no music. Just emails, signatures, long talks with my lawyer, and a quiet house that had never felt more like mine. She didn't try to contact me, not even once. No late-night texts. No apologies. Not even a fake apology to save face. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I was a chapter she had already closed, folded the page, and walked away from. And that would have been fine if it had ended there. But it didn't. On Thursday, I got a call from an unknown number. I usually don't answer those, but something in my gut said pick up. "Is this Nathan Carter?" a voice asked. Female. Sharp. Controlled. Speaking. "My name's Allison. I'm someone who knows your wife. Or ex-wife, I guess." I stood up from my chair immediately. "Who are you, really?" "I'm someone who was engaged to Ryan Talbot." I say was because I just called it off 20 minutes ago. The floor shifted beneath me again. "I found your number in a folder of screenshots she sent him." "Your wife." He printed them. They laughed at them together, messages from you, emails from your lawyer. He kept a file. A trophy box. I sat down slowly. He showed her those? Oh, not just showed. He read them out loud, apparently. Called you the clingy husband. Said you were textbook. They even had a nickname for you. The accountant. Because you were always calculating, apparently. Guess he meant responsible. The sick, metallic taste of rage crawled up my throat. I gripped the armrest so hard my knuckles ached. Allison went on, her voice more brittle now. He was planning to leave me. For her. But he didn't tell her that I had access to our cloud account. That I saw every message. Every plan. Every photo. "Why are you calling me?" I asked. "Because you're the only other person who actually understands what it feels like. To be the background character in your own life." We spoke for an hour. She told me things I didn't want to hear but needed to. That they joked about me. That they coordinated lies. That my wife, the woman I once thought couldn't even keep a houseplant alive, had built an entire double life, planned vacations with him, even applied for jobs in New York. She was never coming back. Not really. She had been leaving for a year. All that remained now was cleanup. After the call, I just sat in the silence for a long time. Not crying. Not angry. Just processing. The betrayal hadn't just been personal. It had been strategic. She didn't trip and fall into a mistake. She climbed into it step by step, dragging my trust behind her like a carcass. But it was Allison's last words that stuck with me the most. "You still have your name. Your life. She tried to rewrite your story, but she failed. Now go write your ending." So I did. I got up, pulled out every remaining thing of hers in the house. Every photo, every note, every article of clothing she hadn't taken. I boxed it up, not with rage, but with precision. I dropped the box off at her sister's place without saying a word. No note. No warning. Then I changed the locks. By Friday night, the same day she was supposed to have left with Ryan for another spa weekend, I was standing on the back deck, whiskey in hand, staring up at a sky that looked different somehow. Not kinder. Not clearer. But wider. I didn't know what came next. But I knew this, she would never again get to rewrite my truth. And if she ever tried to walk back through that door, she'd find nothing left but her own reflection in the glass. Saturday morning, the first call came from her mother. I let it ring. Then the voicemail chimed in, long, anxious, and full of selective ignorance. She said she didn't know the full story but hoped I could be the bigger person. That whatever happened between us, we could find peace like adults. I listened to it once barely, deleted it without hesitation. 2 hours later, her sister texted. "She's crying. She says you blindsided her. What's really going on?" I didn't reply. There was nothing to explain. She had used those same words, blindsided, confused, hurt, on someone else 100 times over while she sat in hotel beds beside another man, sipping wine bought with my money, pretending I was just a phase she hadn't grown out of. Now she was playing the sympathy card. Not because she regretted it, but because I didn't crumble. I think that scared her. But what happened next wasn't what I expected. That night, around 11 p.m., the doorbell rang. I checked the camera. It was her. She was alone. No suitcase. No overnight bag. Just her, standing in the porch light like the past 2 weeks hadn't happened. Like she still had keys in her pocket and memories on the walls. I didn't open the door. I spoke through the intercom. "What do you want?" There was a long pause before she answered. "I just want to talk." "We're past talking. I didn't come here to fight." "You never fought," I said. "You just lied, walked, and came back when things weren't convenient." She looked down at her feet, but I knew the act now. I knew the performances. This wasn't shame. This was strategy. "I didn't expect you to go nuclear," she said. My voice stayed calm. "I didn't go nuclear. I went final. You burned everything and thought I'd keep holding the ashes." "I made mistakes," she said, louder now. "But you didn't even give me a chance to explain. You just sent divorce papers like I was disposable." I almost laughed. "You cheated for a year. Lied for a year. Planned your exit while sleeping in my bed. And I didn't give you a chance." Her mouth moved like she had something to say, but nothing came out. Then came the real reason she was there. "I lost everything," she said. "Ryan ghosted me. Blocked me. After all that, he just disappeared." There it was. Not regret. Not apology. Just consequence. She wasn't sorry she hurt me. She was sorry he hurt her. I leaned closer to the intercom. "You didn't lose everything. You traded it. And he gave you exactly what you gave me, abandonment." She stepped back then. I saw it in her eyes, not pain. Not clarity. Just the sting of ego. The realization that she had placed a bet and lost. "I thought maybe we could start over," she said. I looked at the screen and felt nothing. Not hate. Not bitterness. Just absence. "No," I said. "You can't rebuild what you bulldozed." She didn't say another word. Just stood there for a second, her lips trembling like she was deciding whether to yell, cry, or beg. In the end, she did none of those things. She turned and walked back to her car. And I didn't watch her go. Because I was already looking forward. Sunday came quiet. For the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. No texts. No dreams. No checking the door. Just the kind of deep, anchored sleep that comes when something poisonous has finally bled out of your system. But it didn't last. At 8:02 a.m. I got an email. Subject, urgent. From your wife. I opened it. It was long. Too long. The kind of email you write when you're not trying to say something honest, you're trying to shape a legacy. She didn't apologize. Not once. Not in any real way. What she did instead was reframe. She said she was trapped in a version of our marriage that felt suffocating. That Ryan gave her clarity, but it was never meant to become real. She blamed her distance on emotional starvation and my lack of spontaneity. She said she was broken and that what she did wasn't right, but understandable. Understandable. I read that word 3 times. She wanted me to understand her betrayal. She wanted me to validate it by seeing it as a symptom of her unhappiness. As if she was a bystander to her own decisions. As if her affair wasn't something she engineered across months of calculated silence and misdirection. She ended the email with a plea to talk one last time. She said she believed something still exists between us worth salvaging. And that's when it finally became clear she didn't come back to fix us. She came back because she lost her parachute. Ryan disappeared. Her backup plan flamed out. And now she was rewriting history to cast herself as a tragic figure caught in life's crosswinds. But I wasn't her editor anymore. So I did something simple. I forwarded her email to my lawyer. No reply. No warning. Just a quiet signature of finality. Then I got in my car and drove. Not to escape. Not to clear my head. But to remind myself what real life looked like. I ended up at a lake outside the city. Somewhere we used to go back in the early years, before all the lies, before the rot. I walked the trail by myself, watched the water, listened to birds I never used to hear because she was always talking over the quiet moments. I sat on a bench and watched couples walk by. People with strollers. People holding hands. Teenagers arguing playfully over who forgot snacks. For a brief moment, I wondered what my future would look like. If I'd ever trust again. If someone else would ever sit beside me on that bench. But I didn't stay in that thought for long. I just breathed. And when I finally stood up to leave, I didn't feel lost anymore. I felt clean. By Monday morning, the calm had almost tricked me. It was the kind of peace that felt suspicious, like the moment before a storm changes direction. I went through my routine as if life had returned to some version of normal. Coffee. Emails. Calls. A short run through the neighborhood trail. But when I returned home, there was a letter taped to the front door. Not in an envelope. Not folded. Just a single sheet of paper taped dead center. My name at the top. Her handwriting. Sharp, rushed, almost angry. It read, "You act like you're the only one who got hurt. Like I'm some monster. But you were never really present, Nathan. You were here, but you weren't here. I needed more. You just never asked what that meant. I stopped reading halfway through. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. And that scared me a little. She was still trying to argue with the version of me she created in her head. The emotionally distant husband. The inattentive robot. That character made her choices easier to live with. That character deserved betrayal. But that wasn't me. And she knew it. I opened the door, peeled the letter off the wood, and tossed it straight into the trash without reading the rest. Because here's what she didn't understand: this wasn't about pain anymore. It wasn't even about closure. This was about protection. Not from her. From what she represented. The chaos. The manipulation. The way she twisted reality to make herself the victim of the very wounds she inflicted. I spent the afternoon reviewing paperwork with King. He said the timeline was solid. My position was clear. No kids, no joint business ties, no entangled finances she could bleed through. Just the house, and even that was already halfway transferred into my name from a year ago. She never noticed when I did it. She didn't care enough about the details. That was always her weakness. She only played the emotional chess, never the legal. When the call ended, I saw a text from Allison. He emailed me. Said he made a mistake. Wants to meet for a closure. I replied instantly. Don't. He doesn't want closure. He wants control. She sent a single response. Already deleted it. Just wanted you to know. I'm out. And for the first time since all this began, I felt it real alignment. Someone who understood the same storm, not because I described it well, but because she'd been inside it too. I walked through the house that night, slower than usual. I didn't feel lonely. Just alert. Aware of what I'd survived. The echoes were still there, the space she once occupied. The ghost of a life that had worn me down without me even noticing. But it wasn't hers anymore. This house was mine. This silence was mine. This future, uncertain, unplanned, was mine. And I wasn't going to waste it mourning a past that had been so willing to discard me. Thursday afternoon, I saw her again. Not in person. Not planned. I was at the grocery store, of all places, the most painfully mundane backdrop possible, and she was there in the next aisle. No makeup. Wearing an oversized hoodie I recognized from college. She looked smaller. Not fragile. Just reduced. She didn't see me at first. She was staring at a shelf, frozen waffles in one hand, phone in the other. Her screen was lit up with a photo. I couldn't see what it was from where I stood, but I didn't need to. I stepped back, stayed behind the end cap, heart suddenly heavy, not with longing, but with disbelief. How many moments like this had I imagined before the truth came out? Moments where I'd walk up to her, wrap my arms around her waist, whisper something dumb and make her laugh? Now the thought made my skin crawl. She turned and spotted me. Her face froze. Then came that split-second performance lag, where her expression had to reboot from neutral to "oh wow, hey." She raised a hand awkwardly, didn't walk over. Just hovered near her cart like she was unsure what version of herself to bring out. I didn't make her choose. I walked straight up. No smile. No pretense. "Do not leave anything else at my door," I said quietly. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You read it then." "I read enough." She shifted her weight, defensive, tired of pretending but unwilling to drop the act entirely. "You think this is easy for me?" "No," I said. "I think you want it to seem hard so you don't look like the villain. But you made every choice you needed to make. This right now is the consequence." "You're not innocent either," she muttered. I tilted my head slightly, genuinely curious. "What exactly did I do besides love you and trust you?" She didn't answer. Just like at the house. Just like in the emails. When stripped of her carefully curated narrative, she had nothing. I leaned closer, voice low but unwavering. "You came back because Ryan left. Not because you missed me. You wanted safety. Familiarity. A story you could salvage. But this is where it ends." She looked down at her cart like the groceries could offer her an escape route. Then she said something so audacious it nearly made me laugh. "I think, deep down, you'll regret letting me go." I actually smiled at that. Just a little. Not out of humor. Out of freedom. I already regret holding on for as long as I did. And with that, I turned and walked away. No second glance. No lingering what-ifs. Just the sound of a frozen aisle getting colder behind me. Back home, I poured a glass of water and sat by the window. The grocery bag sat on the counter behind me, full of things she used to insist we keep in the house. Coconut milk, vegan snacks, some herbal tea she said helped her sleep. I threw it all away. That chapter was over. And even in the places it tried to echo like a faint sound through old walls, I wasn't listening anymore. It's strange how something as devastating as betrayal doesn't leave you shattered all at once. It erodes. Quietly. Daily. Until one day you look around and realize the foundation was gone long before the walls caved in. It's been a month since I last saw her. The divorce is moving through cleanly, too cleanly, almost. She hasn't contested anything. Not the house. Not the financials. Not the truth. Maybe she's finally tired. Or maybe she just doesn't want the story anymore now that she can't control the script. But this isn't about her anymore. It's about me. And what came after? There was one morning about a week ago I caught myself laughing. Not at something big. Just at a dumb commercial on TV while eating cereal. It hit me halfway through the laugh. I hadn't done that in months. Maybe longer. I was so used to being hyper-aware of her moods, her tone, her silences that I forgot what it felt like to just be. To exist without someone else's manipulation shaping the edges of my day. The healing didn't arrive in grand gestures. No epiphanies. No new love interest to sweep in and make sense of the mess. Just small moments. Full nights of sleep. Long walks without checking my phone. Music played loudly in the car. I changed the bed sheets. Threw away the last candle she bought. Bought a chair I actually liked. There's power in reclaiming space. Not just physical, but mental. Emotional. I found myself speaking more clearly at work, making decisions faster, second-guessing myself less. I was no longer bleeding emotionally behind a smile. But perhaps the biggest shift was this. I stopped asking why she did it. The truth is, I could build 1,000 theories and never reach the core. People cheat for selfish reasons. For boredom. For escape. Because they don't have the courage to say, I'm not happy, and leave like an adult. She chose the coward's road. She blamed the map. She played the victim in a house she chose to set on fire. And what did I learn? I learned that love is not enough. You can love someone and still be invisible to them. You can give loyalty and still be betrayed. And none of that is your fault unless you stay. Staying, once you've seen the truth, is the real betrayal. Not of them. Of yourself. So here's my advice if you're reading this and in the same place I was. Don't wait for them to apologize. Don't beg them to see your worth. Don't keep the door open just in case they change. If they lie, if they cheat, if they play you like a role in their drama, they already made their choice. You just haven't made yours yet. Walk. And when you do, don't look back waiting for them to chase you. They never deserved to walk beside you in the first place. This was the ending she wrote. But I got to write the last page. And it didn't have her in it.